Now that we have a fresh local copy of the project on our machine, we can start making modifications to it. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an art contribution, and then we're going to see how to send it to the main repo. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to take an existing model and modify it. Here, I'm going to take the torch, which is already present in the game, and I'm going to make a handheld version, a shortened one. I'm using Blender, but you can use whatever software you want. Once I edited my object, I want to export it and put it in the project. Before we exit from Blender, I just want to give you a couple of tips if you're making a 3D object. Two things are very important to verify before we go into Unity. Number one is the pivot. You want to make sure that the pivot is placed in an appropriate position depending on the object. In this case, since this is an item, I'm going to place it in the middle of the handle where I suppose that the character will be holding it. If it was an object that stands on the floor, usually the pivot will be on the floor. The second thing you want to verify is the scale and the rotation of the object, and you want to make sure that they are basically neutral. So the position will be 0, the scaling will be 1, and the rotation will be 0. In Blender, for instance, there's a function that is called apply transform. This will make sure that all the transformations that have been done to the object are being applied, and now the transform is neutral. The other thing you want to do when you export the model is you want to make sure that you have checked apply transform. Even though it says experimental, it actually works. Now that we have the FBX ready, let's import it into Unity. Place objects in their appropriate folder. In my case, it's going to be under Art, Props, and then I'm going to put it into the folder where the torch already exists so that the two models are close to each other. To test art models, I will suggest to use the scene that's called Art Showcase. Open the scene, drop the model inside, and make all the changes that you need to make. Once you're done, create a prefab out of it. And in this case, we want to create a prefab variant so that the prefab is tightly connected to the FBX model we created. So if we make changes to it, the changes are going to come to the prefab as well. Once you have created the prefab, you can take it out of the scene, you can save the scene, whatever you want. The important thing to understand is that the scene is not part of your submission. So maybe later we don't want to send it as part of the PR. Once we go back to Github Desktop, we'll see that all the changes that we have made have produced a change in the commit that we're about to send. Because we don't want to send the scene, we can unselect it, the artshowcase.unity file, which as you can see has a yellow box, which means it has changed. And then we write a summary for the commit and maybe a small description, and we click commit to art assets. Basically, this means that now these assets have been committed to your branch, to your local branch, so they haven't been sent yet. Once you send the commit, one nice thing to do is usually to discard the changes that you don't want to keep. So in this case, for instance, we're going to reset the Art Showcase scene to its original state. Great, now we're ready to send the changes up to the repository, to our fork repository, not to the main one. If you go back to the history, you will notice that the commit is now at the top of the history, and it has a little arrow pointing up, meaning that it's ready to be sent, that it hasn't been sent yet, really. And the button at the top right, instead of saying fetch, it says push origin. And if we press the button, we're gonna send these changes to the repo. Okay, now your local changes have been pushed to the GitHub website, and they are sitting inside your fork on the branch where you push them to. Now it's ready to open a PR, open a pull request, and basically ask the Unity team to approve these changes and merge them with the main repository. Click on pull requests, and then make sure that in the top interface, the right branches are selected. In this case, we want to select art assets on the main repository and art assets on our own fork. As you can see, because we fetched very recently, GitHub is saying that it's able to merge automatically because there are no conflicts with the branch on the main repo. Click on Create Pull Request, then enter a descriptive title and a description in the text box by deleting the existing text, and then click on the green Create Pull Request button again. Now the pull request has been created, and you can verify that it contains exactly what you created on your local machine. It has 1 commit and it has 4 files modified. And now it's ready to be reviewed by the Unity team. Even after you created a PR, you can actually keep making contributions to it by just going back into Unity and doing your work, then go to Github Desktop and create a new commit on the same branch. Once you push, you will see that the PR on the GitHub website has been updated. At this point, it's just a matter of waiting a little bit. The Unity team will review your PR as soon as possible, and if it matches the style of the project and everything, it will pull it into the main repository, at which point you will see your face appear on the main page in the contributors.